Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
All right. So June 2024, your life will be altered forever. Will it be altered forever in your eyes?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just another stage of life, you know.
Mm.
I don't. I'm pretty good at, I guess, not getting too worried about stuff until I need to be. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I still got to worry about May, and you know, I got a guy trying to hurt me. I got to get through that, and then we get to relax a little bit, and yeah, it'll be a good time though.
Having the gift of life, right? It's coming to you pretty soon. Has it changed your perspective on things, on certain things?
Um, I wouldn't say so. I would say maybe just a little more motivation to, you know, keep the checks coming in, that type of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, nothing's changed yet, too much on my end of things, but you know, I still got to get through business as usual, and
Okay.
then we can kind of settle down and get work, like, you know, ready for all the baby type stuff. But yeah, for now it's business as usual, and
Mhm.
again, just focusing on the guy that's going to try to hurt me here in May.
All right, all right. Before we get to the guy that's trying to hurt you, last weekend, UFC 300 happened, and probably the biggest moment was Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje. I wanted to ask you, how far do you think Max Holloway could go in the lightweight division?
I think honestly, we've seen a lot of guys as they go older, going up divisions and actually having a lot more success. And I think he's one of those guys. He's been at featherweight his whole career. I think he got in around 20, like around the same time as me. But and you know, I've seen him in person. Like, he's pretty big. I think he'd do well at 55. I mean, obviously he just beat what was Gaethje, the number 2 or number 3 ranked guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know, in a lot of people's eyes, he would have been the next one for that title shot. So yeah, I mean, I think Max can do, you know, great things at 55 if he really wanted to. Especially with kind of the title picture being pretty closed at 45, or I guess not so much now with the Topuria fight, but it's just knowing that, you know, if Max does fight Ilya, then that Volkanovski fight's going to come. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know. I think he'd have a lot more room to grow at 55 and fight a lot of the guys that he never has. I think the Islam fight would be super tough for him. I mean, it would be for anybody, but yeah, who knows? I mean, obviously, again, like, he just knocked out one of the best guys in the division, the one who a lot of people thought should be next up for the title. So I think, yeah, Max has a future at 55 if that's what he wants, for sure.
If he were to defend the BMF title, who do you think should be fighting Max Holloway?
I think, honestly, I think here's my thought, at least for what UFC would do, is they'd try to get Conor that belt. Um, and they've already fought before. That'd be a great fight. I know Max mentioned that he'd like to fight Conor at some point. Maybe see Conor beat Chandler, and then see that BMF fight happen. You know, maybe December in Vegas, or, you know, who knows? The sky's the limit on that fight. That would be a crazy pay-per-view. Crazy build up, especially with Max's knockout of Justin, and you know, if Conor beats Chandler in a convincing fashion, I think that'd be a great fight.
In another lightweight fight, a big lightweight fight, was Arman Sarian versus Charles Oliveira. What'd you think of that decision?
I thought it was a sound decision. I mean, I uh, I was so gutted for Oliveira, especially, you know, that guillotine was so deep in the first round. Um, yeah, I honestly thought that even with the 10-8, I thought that Sarukian would have won on most of the judges' scorecards. Split was, I guess, more of a surprise to me than Sarukian winning. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, you know, I wanted to see Charles get the win and maybe get back up towards that title shot. But you know, it's going to be nice to see a young face back up at the top of the division. Kind of the changing of the guard type thing, and then I mean, they've already, him and Islam have already had that fight in Sarukian, and it was a close fight. So let's see how how those guys have progressed. I mean, I think Islam's gotten a lot better. So I think it's a tough one, but I'd love to see that matchup.
For sure. During his walkout, right, some fan filmed himself flipping him off, and then Sarian punched him, right, or he tried to punch him, right, for the disrespect. What's the most disrespectful thing a fan has done to you?
Uh, Honestly, I've never really had any issues. Like that's the thing is when you see a lot of these people in person, like they're very, I don't know, I don't have any really negative interactions. I mean, it's just, I guess the most disrespectful thing would just be like all the people that you know are, they're trying to get you to sign stuff so they can sell it. Like they've got like a collection of the UFC gloves. They have like 20 of them and they want you to sign five. And you know, those are just going up on eBay. Like that's not very cool, but, everybody, like all the fan interactions have been super solid. I mean, I'm not talking the way I guess a guy like a Sarukian might be. Like I'm not trash talking a ton of guys, so I think it's easy for people to, you know, be polite to me in person. But I think yeah, the guys that start trash talking, then the fans think that, you know, they can kind of get in on that too, or you know, you trash talk the guy that they like, so they want to get in on that. But yeah, that was crazy during the walkout. Like I'm usually again more focused on the guy that I'm about to fight than you know anything else going around me. So that's definitely an interesting moment for sure.
2023, man, it was the year that you transitioned to the lightweight division. You picked up 2 wins. What were some of the learning lessons from last year, from the camps, from the fights, anything?
Honestly, like it's just feeling a lot more like I am where I should be. Yeah, last year was a real high note as far as that goes. Getting 2 wins against two solid guys. You know, the first one he was from, you know, New England Cartel. That's a super legit gym. Same thing with Jordan from a great gym. You know, a high level guy, and you know, having these convincing wins where it's pretty one sided, and you know, getting a decisive finish of a guy like Jordan, who's a great grappler. I think it shows my potential to, you know, UFC. You know, it shows my potential to the people who matter, the ones that sign the checks, that type of thing. But it's definitely a good confidence boost, and you know, we're starting to get the weight cut dialed in at 155, so that I'm able to have, you know, a good hard camp and not come into the fight hurt, not come in depleted. Um, yeah, I think a lot of it's been, you know, gaining the confidence too, and again, like understanding that, you know, I'm on the next step of my career, I guess. Like I'm getting comfortable with being in the UFC and fighting the guys at this level. So yeah, I think it's just been, you know, a good year of transitioning to maybe that next level of my competitive career to, you know, keep that trajectory going upward. And yeah, I think this next fight will be a good test to see. And I think that's kind of why UFC made it. It's kind of a test for both of us. It's a test for him to see if he's better at dealing with grapplers, and it's a test for me to see how I'm going to deal with, you know, a power striker like that. Um, Both very much, I want to say, like specialists in our own right. And you know, it's going to be a great fight either way. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, May 11th, you're talking about Slava Claus. What'd you think of his last fight against Nazim Sadikov?
I thought Sadyakov won actually. When I watched it, you know, I didn't watch it live. I watched it after the fact, watching film. Um, yeah, I thought Sadyakov would have taken the win, 2-1, but I don't know. You never can really tell what the judges see. But I think a lot of his fights, there's great lessons to take away from what his opponents did well, what they didn't do well. Um, Obviously, I think Slava's a really dynamic striker. Like I think he's more on the boxing end. Like he'll throw a lot of the calf kicks and stuff, but I think he has really solid boxing. Um, and yeah, I think honestly, Sadyakov probably should have grappled him more off the bat. I think he was kind of sitting there more defensively, like kind of shelled up. You know, just kind of like eating the punches. But I don't think that was necessarily the best way to go in. Obviously, you have to have high defense with a guy like this. He's got pretty decent power, but it's just not getting caught. Like he's got really good timing. He's got really good combos, that type of stuff. But I think, yeah, higher defense is good, but not just kind of sitting there and waiting for him. Yeah, but I think Sajikov was on the shorter end, at least like reach wise. So he's kind of fighting an uphill battle when you're fighting the longer guy. So in our fight, I'm gonna be the longer guy reach wise at least. We're a similar height, but yeah, I mean it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be a test of how well I'm able to deal with a guy like that. That's gonna be trying to box me up the whole time, and I'm gonna be trying to grapple him up the whole time. I think it's pretty black and white matchup, but that's what makes it fun.
How much do draws suck from a fighter's perspective?
Uh, I mean, it's the same thing as a loss, at least financially. So in everything but name, it's like a loss. You don't get to move forward in any division. You don't get like that. You don't get satisfaction from getting the win. It's like I didn't lose, but whatever. And I only got half my paycheck. Same thing as the other guy. So I think it's honestly kind of worse off because nobody gets their win money. Nobody moves forward in that, and it's just kind of like a weird. It's a weird space. So I want to stay as far away from those as I can for sure.
Okay. The team around you, man, the coaches, the sparring partners, any new additions outside of your Enumclaw family?
Um, Not really a ton. We started cross training a little bit more. Been cross training with a team up in Seattle and with Michael Chies's team. Those guys have come out. They came out once this camp, just getting different looks sparring. Um, Trying to kind of get some guys that are going to maybe not really care, I guess, if they hit me hard, that type of thing. Which is nice to have, because then I get to go into the rounds and I'm not worried for their safety. They're not worried for mine. We're kind of going for it a little bit. Where my day to day teammates, like I'm not trying to hurt them, they're not trying to hurt me. So it's nice to get a little bit of that. It helps kind of recreate the not necessarily like the fear, but the like having to be um, acknowledging that there's a lot of risk involved versus it's a little more relaxed with your team that you're used to. So yeah, just getting that factor of the discomfort, I guess, has been really good. Been really just trying to work, honestly, rounding everything off, keeping that defense tight. I feel like Slava's got like a pretty, I don't know, he's an older guy, like he's in his 30s, so it's not like he's going to be adding any crazy new stuff, I feel like, to his fighting style, to his arsenal. So I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what he's going to throw in there. So yeah, just trying to kind of replicate that in the gym and replicate that in the sparring sessions, and it's been great so far.
Yeah, it's good to see, like the teams around you, because I know you were flying out to like the East Coast and like pretty, it's pretty distant travel, just to go get some training, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been flying around training with One Boys guys. I haven't gone out there yet this camp. It's just, especially with the pregnant wife, like flying across the country isn't always the best option. And, the karate style for the sparring, I think I need a little more of like a boxer that's going to try and walk me down. Where in South Carolina, they have great counter striking. But in some of the sparring rounds, I feel like the guys, I can tell when they're just like waiting. So it's nice to have a guy that's going to try and chase me down the whole time. So yeah, just kind of getting the right style, I think, for the matchup. But yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. Like you said earlier, it's like this guy that's gonna try to pressure you and walk you down and not really afraid to get hit, you know what I mean? Just to hit you. And then trying to implement like an overall skill set, right? Like you want to strike, but you also want to get to the ground as well. Because that's where your advantages lie.
Yeah, I think that's what that's what fighting is really about is finding the easiest way to win, especially when it's at this level. Like it's gonna hurt whether you win or lose, and so it's about finding your easiest way to win, as quickly as possible, or at least as efficiently as possible, like without taking a ton of unnecessary damage. And for me, that's in the grappling side of things. I mean, they know that that's no secret. Like if you ask anybody, that's watching that fight. They're like, what do you think he's gonna do? What do you think he's gonna do? I'm gonna try to grapple. He's gonna try to strike, and it's gonna be, figuring out who's got the better game plan that night. So yeah, we'll find out.
How has the grappling matches you've taken over the years helped you in your MMA game?
Yeah, I'd say like the one last year against Clay was obviously a great confidence boost to kind of know that I can hang with a guy, a Hall of Famer. The Aljo one was also a good experience. Just going against, a world championship level grappler. I mean, it's nice to get these opportunities, and obviously going and getting to experience stuff like going to Abu Dhabi, getting to experience the Middle East was great. It was just kind of the whole package was a great time, and yeah, I'd love to keep doing more of them. And it's a good way to stay in that competitive mindset without taking the damage that you would from a fight. And it's always nice if you can get paid for it as well. So no complaints.
Yeah. Sometimes in fights, man, I noticed that some fighters have, they do have ego, right? So they go in there and they say, hey, I'm going to beat this guy at what he's good at. So if
Hmm.
Slava comes into the first round and tries to take you down, how are you going to think, man? What are you going to think in your mind?
I mean, I honestly, I got really lucky a lot of my local fights, or like a lot of even my Fight Pass fights. For some reason, guys would just try to take me down. Like I would just, I would definitely welcome it. Um, but it would be about not getting, held down, not letting him just stay heavy top pressure. Like, he's at a good gym. They got some decent wrestlers there. I mean, it's Team Alpha Male. They're known for a double and a guillotine, that type of thing. Um, but yeah, I would be really surprised if he were to come out with that. Because again, like for him, the easiest way to win is going to be staying as far away from the grappling as possible. But again, like you said, maybe the ego comes into it. The guy doesn't want to think that someone's better in an area than him. But I would say a lot of Slava's losses have come from the grappling side of things. So I imagine he'll kind of stay on the anti grappling side of things.
All right, a couple questions, outside of the fight. There's a new drug testing company that has taken over. USADA's not with you guys anymore. What has your experiences been with them so far?
Yeah, I actually had my first one a week or two, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Honestly, it's pretty much exactly the same. Just a different dude that I'm hanging out with to pee in the cup for. But yeah, the process is pretty much the same. Like nothing's really changed in my eyes. I'm still getting tested around the same amount that I was with USADA. I was getting about one a quarter, and so far we're on track for that. So about four of those a year. They just show up randomly, and then you got to hang out with them until you pee in the cup for them, and then be like, all right, I'll see you in another 3 months. So it's been the same for me. And I think now that it's kind of closing into that end of that first quarter, it's going to be pretty similar for everybody else.
There's been a couple hefty suspensions that they've
Hmm.
put on fighters, since they've come on, right? What do you think of the 2 3 year bans?
Yeah, one of them was Walt Harris, right?
Yeah, I think he got like a 3 year ban or something like that.
Yeah, it showed that he's failed like three separate drug tests,
Yeah,
and it was for
yeah.
like testosterone, and then it was like an androgen blocker or something, and then
Yeah.
like a masking agent, that type of thing. So those are pretty blatant, like performance enhancing drugs, if you will. Like you're not going to get all three of those differently, like in separate blood tests, a couple weeks apart, unless you're intentionally taking it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably good to see that some people are getting ramifications for the cheating type of stuff. And Walt's on the older end of things, so that's probably going to be the end of his career. Like he's already in his late 30s, I think, if I remember right. So where's he going to be at in another 3 years? Probably not thinking about fighting anymore. At least not in UFC. So that's probably more of career ender to him, like a quiet one, if you will. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see that guys are getting, consequences for doing the stuff you're not allowed to do. So take it.
Yeah, a lot of the fighters that I've talked to in the UFC, they really want punishments, man. They really hate cheaters. Like because they're clean and they're in the UFC, and if someone cheats, it's like, what I mean, like it's like the worst thing they can do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like we're all trying to hurt each other at the end of the day, but you want some sort of rules to it. Like either nobody's gonna do it or we're gonna all do all the steroids, which doesn't really favor the people
Yeah.
without the budget for it. So it's
Mhm.
nice if we can all just save the money and
Yeah.
try and fight the old fashioned way. So
May 11th, UFC Fight Night. Chase Hooper, thank you so much, man, for taking the time and yeah, all the best to the family and the newborn and all of that stuff, man. It's gonna be a great time, man. I have a daughter; she's 12 years old, so I've already experienced pretty much what you're going to experience.
fair enough. I appreciate it. Good talking with you.